Ingetim Power Technology. Power Grid Automation. Tutorials. Topic: Digital Input, Digital Output, and LEDs Configuration. In this video, we will learn how to configure the digital inputs, digital outputs, and LEDs of an IED with the Energy Factory Suite tool. For that purpose, we will open the PAC Factory application and select the IED whose parameters we want to configure. When opening the IED view in PAC Factory, we will establish an FTP connection to the IED. Once the IED is loaded in the PAC Factory application, we will look for the input and output configuration parameter list. As it can be seen, the selected IED has 4 separate I/O cards, with several inputs and outputs in each. Each card has a parameter with which the modifications and updates in them would be registered in the event record. Digital inputs have just 2 parameters, one for filtering the captured signal and the digital input type, that is, normally open and normally closed. Digital outputs, on the contrary, have 3 parameters: the signal with which to activate the output, the minimum duration of the output activation pulse, and the output type. The output type has the following modes. First mode: the output strictly follows the assigned signal's status. Second mode: the output activates with the activation of the signal but does not deactivate until being commanded to do so. Third mode: the output activates when the assigned signal is activated but does not deactivate until the signal is off, and the breaker protection logical node, PROT.XCBR, reflects the breaker as open. And finally, fourth mode: the output activates with the activation of the assigned signal but does not deactivate until the breaker protection logical node reflects the breaker as closed. Regarding the signals assigned to the digital outputs, these can be selected from the whole model as long as their types are compatible, that is, single-point signals or similar. As far as the LED configuration is concerned, their parameters can also be found in the Protection Settings tab, just below the configuration parameters of the I/O cards. The LEDs have 2 parameters only. The first parameter links one of the binary type signals in the IED model to the LED status. The second parameter, the LED type, refers to the behavior of the LED, that is, whether the LED follows the assigned signal's status for both the activation and the deactivation of it, unlatched not, or if the LED turns on with the activation of the signal and turns off with the activation of another signal, latched, stored. This LED deactivating signal is common to all the latched type LEDs. For this test, we will configure the digital outputs as follows. The first digital output will activate with the first digital input and will deactivate with the deactivation of the same input signal. On the other hand, the second digital output, whose activation will be ruled by the first digital input, will need to be commanded to turn off. In a similar way, the first 2 LEDs will be activated by the first digital input. The first LED will not be latched, but the second will. In order to deactivate the latched LED, the second digital input will be used. Now let's send the modified parameters to the IED and then try this configuration. Back on the Status tab, the I/O cards information and LED status information can be monitored. We will activate the first digital input, which will turn both configured outputs and LEDs on. Once the first digital input is turned off, the first digital output and LED will follow up. Nonetheless, the second digital output and LED will keep with an on status. In order to reset the latched digital output, which has been configured in the second mode, a relay reset command needs to be sent. Regarding the latched LEDs, there are 2 ways in which they can be reset. The first one, activating the LED reset signals, assigned in the LED's configuration parameters, that is, the second digital input. The second one, sending the LED's reset command to the device. Finally, we now know how to configure the digital inputs, digital outputs, and LEDs of an IED with the Energy Factory Suite tool.
Ingetim, electrifying a sustainable future.